Well, hello everyone. I welcome you all at Smarty Education. Today we will be starting with Law of Torts lecture number 3 and you are watching the lecture at Smarty Education. So, first of all, let me tell you that if you have not watched lecture number 1 and lecture number 2, I will suggest you to go and watch lecture number 1 and lecture number 2 so that you get the full understanding of lecture number 3. So, you will get to know that whatever we studied in lecture number 1 and lecture number 2 are relevant for lecture number 3. So, let me begin with the lecture. So now we need to continue from rule of strict liability. So what do you mean by strict liability? Strict liability means in which the tortfeasor means the defendant cannot escape. Defendant cannot escape. And the word exception means certain kind of limitation where the rule of strict liability cannot be applied. So in the rule of strict liability, we read the example of Ryland versus Fletcher, in which Ryland was the owner of mill in which he built an reservoir. From when the rain came, the reservoir's water flew into the Fletcher's field and the Fletcher's crops were damaged, and ultimately Ryland had to pay compensation to Fletcher. That was summary of Ryland versus Fletcher case. So now let's discuss some limitation related to strict liability. Mainly the strict liability decision is based on the case study of Ryland versus Fletcher. So let's study limitations of rule of strict liability, also refers to exceptions. The first one is damage due to natural use of land. So what do you mean by natural use of land? So from natural you get to understand something related to nature which is already built by our mother nature. So in Ryland versus Fletcher, water collected in the reservoir was artificial, it was man-made in such large quantity was held. It was a non-natural use of land. Obviously, keeping water for ordinary domestic purpose can be called natural use. For one's purpose use, things not necessarily dangerous which is not usual for a person on land, such as water pipe installation, building, the working of mines and business on land, the lighting of fire in fireplace of house, and necessary wiring for supplying and fall under the category of natural. Whichever things are necessary for the survival of human being, it can be considered as natural use. But something which has been built for the individual person, it will be called artificial and it will be called non-natural use of land. So let's see, if you have not understand this, you will get to understand this with the example. For example, if the lake was not artificial, then Fletcher could not claim damages. For example, Ryland had a natural lake in his land, and due to rain, water flew into the field of Fletcher. So then the Fletcher could not claim the damages, as Ryland could have said that it is a natural thing, and the natural thing I don't have any control on it. Now let's talk about another limitation, that is consent to plaintiff. So what do you mean by consent to plaintiff? So first of all, we need to understand who is a plaintiff. Plaintiff means who is applying for the damages. When the plaintiff has consented to the accumulation of dangerous thing on the defendant's land, the liability under the rule in Ryland versus Fletcher does not arise. Such a consent is implied where the source of danger is for the common benefit for the both plaintiff and the defendant. So what do you mean by this case? It means that if the Ryland and Fletcher could have contacted between each other, that Ryland will use the reservoir for the purpose of energizing his mills, and the Fletcher have said that I will use the reservoir's water for watering my crops, then it will be called as consent of the plaintiff, and the plaintiff will not be able to get the damages from the defendant. Now let's talk about another set of exceptions to the rule of strict liability. The first one is act of third party. So what do you mean by act of third party? Third party means which is not either related to defendant, not either related to the plaintiff. Okay. If the harm has been caused due to the act of a stranger, strangers mean third person who is neither defendant, servant, nor agent, nor defendant has any control over him. Means the defendant to whom the charges have been made by the plaintiff to pay the damages, even he has not control over that third stranger, the defendant will not be liable. Thus in Box v. Jubin, it has also been proven in the very famous case of Box v. Jubin, but it's not very relevant from your examination point of view. Therefore you should not have focused on this. Whatever I am telling you, please focus on my words, because notes will be incomplete without my proper explanation. Okay, so but if the act of the strange is or can be foreseen by the defendant and the damage can be prevented by the defendant. Okay, so if this person was throwing the water of reservoirs into Fletcher's land, then Ryland could stop him. Okay, so I think you got the point. Now let's talk about statutory authority. Statutory authority. So what do you mean by statutory authority? Statutory authority basically means some kind of public bodies. Storing water, gas, electricity and the like are by statute exempted from liability so long as they have taken reasonable care. Statutory authority means those authorities which are involved in the which are considered as public bodies, and they always take reasonable care whatever they are doing. This is proved in Green versus Cheleja Water Works. So one day what happened, that the defendant means company had a statutory duty to maintain continuous supply of water, means the company had a responsibility to supply water continuously to the city. So one day what happened, that a main pipeline belonging to companies burst without any fault on its part, as consequence of which plaintiff's premises were flooded with water. So one day what happened, that the pipeline busted out and the water flooded in the premises of the plaintiff, and the plaintiff applied for the damages. Since statutory authority had taken reasonable care, therefore the plaintiff cannot get any kind of damages. Now let's talk about applicability of the rule of Ryland versus Fletcher in case of enterprises engaged in hazardous or inherently dangerous industry. Now we have always emphasized on Ryland versus Fletcher case in case of strict liability. But in India, what is the applicability of Ryland versus Fletcher case? What is the applicability of Ryland versus Fletcher case? Let's get to understand that. So the Supreme Court means Superior Court has discussed the applicability of the rule of Ryland. Sorry, the spelling is wrong here. Ryland versus Fletcher in case of MC Mehta versus Union of India. Okay, so first of all, let me tell you that what is MC Mehta versus Union of India. This is a very famous case law. In the upcoming slide, we will discuss the case law in a very brief detail. That is very, very important from your examination point of view. While determining the principle on which the liability of an enterprise, so whatever enterprise is engaged in hazardous or inherently dangerous industry, dependent if an accident occurred in such industry. Thus, if any industry is involved in dealing of hazardous goods, will be liable without any kind of mercy. Okay, so what does it mean by that? For example, if any industry is involved in hazardous kind of good. So what do you mean by hazardous goods? Hazardous goods means if they are exposed to public health can be damaged. Just now, for understanding the meaning, you can assume that. Okay, which is harmful for public and in which the enterprise is operating in it. For example, the example is acid, in which the enterprise has to take reasonable care, and if anything goes wrong, the enterprise has to pay the damages. So there will be no mercy. Mercy means daya. Thus, while imposing the absolute liability for manufacture of hazard, before applying the absolute liability, the Supreme Court intended that the requirement. Now there is a one word called absolute liability. So what do we mean by absolute? In absolute liability, what happens that the defendant will get a chance to prove himself not guilty. Okay, but in strict liability, you cannot prove yourself that you are not guilty. Okay. So, escape of dangerous substance, commonly regarded as essential for liability under Ryland versus Fletcher, need not to be proved in India. So, whatever industry has, for example, if you have heard about Bhopal gas tragedy, what happened that there was a gas agriculture company in which no reasonable protection care were taken, and the gas leaked, and people suffered from the gas and become sick. Okay, and then without any kind of proof, that industry had to pay the damages. Now let's understand MC Mehta versus Union of India in a brief example. So what happened that Shriram Enterprises was a subsidiary of a state-owned company. Okay, so subsidiary company of a state-owned company. Subsidiary means in which the holding company will have majority stake. Okay, it was called government company, and the subsidiary company name was Shriram. Okay, so one day what happened that when the gas leaked, as you are seeing in the screen, when the gas leaked, some people suffered from shortage of gas, and since the company was involved and since company was operating a dangerous gas, so it had to pay damages to the victim, because a dangerous gas escaped from the company's premises, and the company had to pay damages to the plaintiff. Okay, now let's understand vicarious liability. In Hindi, it means that करे कोई भरे कोई. Normally the tort feasor means the defendant means defendant means the person who has to pay damages against whom the charges is been claimed by the plaintiff is liable for his tort. But in some cases a person may be held liable for the tort committed by another. We will see some examples, so you will get the full concept related to it. A master is vicariously liable for the tort of his servant, principal for the tort of his agent, and partners for the tort of a partner. This is known as vicarious liability. Okay, so don't go so deep in it. We are going to understand the full concept in the upcoming slides. Common examples are principal and agent, master and servant, employee and independent contractor. So let's get to understanding concept of vicarious liability with a very good example. Sorry for some voice issues, so please ignore that. So now let's get to understand concepts of vicarious liability. Let's get to understand. So there were three persons named X, Y and Z. Okay, so one day what happened that one day Y request X to employ Z. One day what happened that this is Y, and Y request X to please employ Z, as he knew Z for many years and he was a good man. Though X said okay, I will employ him, I need an employee, but if anything goes wrong with this person, because I don't know him, only you know him, if anything goes wrong you will be responsible for that. Z said okay sir, I will be responsible if anything goes wrong with my friend Z, you just employ him. And since X was the owner and Y was the manager, and Y became the employer of Z, fortunately. Now one day what happened that after seeing a lot of money, one day when no one was at his office, after seeing a lot of money, Z decided that Z stole some money and ran off. Okay, ultimately X find out and he called Y to come, and then Y had to pay damages for the stealing on behalf of Z. So what do you understand by this example? First of all, you get to understand that vicarious liability means kare koi bhare koi, in which what happened that Z responsibility was taken by Y and Y had to pay damages to Mr. X. So this was called as vicarious liability, in which master will be liable for the acts of his servant. Okay ji. Now let's talk about principal and agent relationship in the case of vicarious liability. First of all, remember this maxim, very important from your examination point of view. Feci fecit per ilium ficit per se. I don't know how to pronounce it, so please ignore that. He who acts through another is acting himself, so that the act of the agent is the act of the principal. When an agent commits a tort in the ordinary course of business, it will be considered as principal and agent. So principal and agent is a very difficult, not a very difficult topic, but most students find it very difficult to understand. We will see its example, so then you will get to understand what is. For now you can understand that. So there is a employer and he employed someone, and the employee committed some wrongful act under the course of employment, means during the kind of work, and the employer will too be responsible for that work, for the negligence taken by him. Now let's talk about partners. Partners means what? Two or more people. I can assume that two or more people. Okay. So the tort committed by partners, for example, one partner when commits something, other partner will too be responsible for that. Okay ji. Hamlin versus Houston, remember, very important case law. Okay, it was held that both the partners were liable for the tort committed by only if any one partner does something wrong. In the case of the ordinary course of partnership, it will be considered other partners' fault too. Okay ji. Now let's understand principal and agent case through a very famous case study, Alloyd versus Grace Smith and Company case. So one day what happened that in this case the supervisor employed a new employee. Okay, the supervisor employed a new employee. So one day he went outside related to some office work. So a lady came one day. A lady came to rent her two cottages. So what did our new employee do? Instead of renting her two cottages, made lady to sign the paper of gifting her property to that employee. So I think this will be called as cheating. Okay, the employee did something wrong to that lady. The lady went to court. Okay, by signing the document of gifting her property to that employee, the lady went to court because something wrong has been happened to her. So before continuing our story, let me tell you, first tell me what kind of name will this person is known as, what kind of name the lady will be known as. The lady will be known as tortfeasor and this person will be known as tortfeasor. Tortfeasor means to the person who will pay damages, and tortfeasor means who will get the damages. Let's continue our story. Since the employee and the employer had a principal and agent relationship, since the employee did the wrongful act under the course of employment, that's why the employer will too be liable to pay the damages. The employer will too be liable to pay the damages to this lady. Now I hope you get to understand what is the relationship between principal and agent. Now let's understand master and servant relationship. So what do you mean by master? Master means owner, servant means knocker. A master is liable for the torts committed by his servants while acting in the course of his employment. So whenever servant does something wrongful act under the course of employment, master will be liable. So in such cases what's happened that liability of person is independent of his wrongful intention or negligence. Means master will too be liable. Liability is joint as well as several. Joint as well as several means the master and servant can both of them can be involved in a wrongful act. And the third one is in case of vicarious liability, kare koi bhare koi, the liability arises because of the relationship between the principal and the wrongdoer. But in case of absolute or strict liability, the liability arises out of the wrong itself. Okay. In absolute or strict liability, what happens that only the servant will be responsible, only the man who has committed the tort will be responsible. But in case of vicarious liability, the relationship of master and servant or principal or agent partnership will too be considered. Okay, a master is liable only for the tort which have been committed by servant, but also for the acts done by him. So for example, there was a man, so let's take an example. So in the previous example of lady and the employee, we saw that even employer did not commit anything, but he was responsible for the act of that employee for getting the gift property in the name of gift, which are not specifically authorized in the course of employment on the basis of the rule had Viceroy stated on the maxim, let the principal be liable. Remember, is this maxim very important for examination point of view. Now let's talk about employer and servant relationship in tort. If the tort has been committed by the employee in ordinary course of, that's all we have discussed here. In this example, we discussed that employer liability will be there if servant commits something in the course of employment. Okay, when employer is liable for the acts of committed, so there is a separate term called independent contractor. So what do you mean by independent contractor? Independent contractor means he is not involved in the ordinary course of business. He is just employed for a particular period of time. He is not a permanent employee. Independent contractor always works by his orders. So in what cases the employer is liable? The employer is liable for the acts committed by the independent contractors. So when the employer authorizes him to commit something wrong, it will be considered under the liability of principal. In torts of strict liability, negligence of independent contractor. So in strict liability of Ryland versus Fletcher case, we saw that Ryland had to pay damages. Even the contractors were negligent to see the coal shaft, but still Ryland had to pay damages as he was negligent to the work of independent contractor. If the employer doesn't see the negligence of contractor, then he will too be held liable. Okay, note, an employer will not be liable for the act committed by independent contractor if he has taken reasonable care. So let's understand a very famous case study named as Phillips versus Britannia Hygienic Laundry Company. So what happened that in this case, a lorry driver was driving very fastly, as you are seeing on the screen. What happened that it rammed into a car and the car got damaged. So what do you learn from this lesson? So lesson to be learned, since the owner of the lorry, there was a owner of the lorry truck, means reasonable care in recruitment of driver. First of all, he checked the license, He checked all the conditions that are needed for becoming a driver and maintained the truck, means he has proper servicing of truck. Then the tort means the employer will not be liable, only the driver will be liable to pay damages for this car. Okay ji. Now let's talk about liability for the acts of servant. So this is a very important. An employer is liable whenever the servants committed in the course of employment. Why am I emphasizing on this word course of employment? Course of employment means in which the work has to done at the time. For example, an employee has to work from 10 to 5. So in this course, if anything wrong is committed by the employee, then the employer will be liable. But after that, employer will not be liable. Okay, now let's talk about an wrongful act authorized by the employer. For example, if the employer authorizes the employee to commit some wrongful act, it will be considered as liability of the principal. A wrongful and unauthorized mode of doing some unauthorized some act authorized by the employer. So let's study a very famous case law, Century Insurance Company Limited versus Northern Ireland Transport Board. So what happened in this case? The director of petrol lorry, while transferring the petrol from the lorry to an underground tank at a garage, struck at a match in order to light a cigarette and threw it and still. So what happened, that someone was matching the cigarette and you can say that some kind of chingari went to the petrol and it burned the whole petrol pump. So in this case, the employer was liable as he was negligent to see this. Now let's talk about vicarious liability of the state. So that's it for today's guys. I hope you find the video helpful. Sorry I could not complete it in lecture number 3 because the video is going too long and I know that you will not watch a long video. So goodbye.